was your day? Did you do a good action today? Did you hold the door for someone? Did you smile at a stranger?
Salutations, although this is a questionable salutation because we are going to be talking about some questionable material online at the moment. My name is Kidology and I make videos about anything and everything to do with modern society. And that includes the bizarre and the unexpected and, of course, the trending.
We don't have much time, okay? My back is so stiff. Stretch with me.
If you've been on the internet in the last week, it is pretty unlikely that you have not stumbled across what is perhaps the most perplexing and confusing content on the internet at the moment. This is because if you see it with no context, it seems otherworldly and like an episode of Black Mirror, which is what critics are essentially describing it as. I was first exposed to it on Twitter when this beautiful Montreal woman who goes by the name Pinky Doll appeared doing this.
Take it, Itzel. You got me feeling like a queen. Yes, 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 yes. Balloon. Oh, thank you, Amber. Wow, why is my white dress so it can match with the flowers on my head? Beautiful. Oh, thank you, Big. You got me feeling like a queen. That was good. Coconut. Oh, thank you, baby. This is so cute. Oh, thank you, baby. I love you. Yes, yes, yes. Ice cream, so good. Yes, strong woman. Yes, strong woman. Eric, firework. Wow. What a perfect date for you and me. Fire. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, popcorn. Yes, 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 yes. Gang, gang. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, take it, Jew. I love you.
What it took me a little bit of time to realize is that she is mimicking and has become notorious for her mimicking of a non-playable character. A non-playable character, or NPC, is found in a video game. And the definition of an NPC has expanded since about the Trump era. It is now used not only to label a video game character, but also an individual who is essentially deemed following the herd. A person who is incapable of thinking for themselves, a person who just spiels political mantras and buzzwords. I'm sure if you look at a BreadTube video essay, somebody will have called them an NPC at some point. But the almost neutral connotations of an NPC in a video game, moving on to the negative connotations associated with internet slang around politics, especially online politics, has now taken on a new life form altogether. Because now to be an NPC is not deemed a bad thing, well, depending on where you're coming at it from. Pinky Doll represents the new NPC, the NPC that critics are envious of, that men ogle over, and that young women are meant to aspire to become. And it isn't just because what Pinky Doll and her cohort are doing is so bizarre that it is gaining notoriety. It is because of how much money Pinky Doll is making, and therefore what we can assume other successful NPC creators are making. Pinky Doll, at least according to the New York Times, according to an interview that she did with the New York Times a few days ago, makes approximately, or at least, she said, $7,000 a day. She does this by playing an NPC character on her TikTok as well as on her OnlyFans. What is extraordinary about this is that she has only been doing social media and doing NPC social media since the beginning of this year. So she has essentially garnered the income of what can only be deemed a millionaire in a matter of a few months. She will, in a sexy baby voice, repeat catchphrases such as, oh my goodness, can't believe I'm about to do this. Ice cream so good.
I cannot believe my eyes.
What I have found extraordinarily fascinating about this entire situation, especially in recent days reading articles and interviews given by Pinky Doll and about Pinky Doll, is that even though there are clearly two camps with regards to how people respond to these NPC TikToks, one side being blatant confusion and the other side being outright hostility and this idea that this represents the end of civilization itself, we are living in an episode episode of Black Mirror, oh, woe is the good old past, nostalgia, 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 or doomsday. What is evident is that Pinky Doll and those who are as successful as her don't care either way. And I find this really interesting, and I will explain why. In an interview with the New York Times 5 days ago, Pinky Doll is quoted as saying, "I don't really care what people say about me. If they want to think I am this or that, it's fine with me. At the end of the day," she added, "I'm winning." And this is what really does frighten me. Not about this content necessarily. I think that this content is just a very understandable and predictable response to the dilemmas of our age that go way beyond this content. If we didn't have the problems that we currently have in our relationship era, in our consent culture era, I don't think we would be seeing things like this being so prominent, especially when it comes to the undertones of a lot of self-sexualization in the interest of making money, in terms of this being content that is very much catered toward young men online, is very much about what I would call this essentially being better than. I'd just like to say, based on my going through and watching many a live stream for the past few days of NPC creators, it is quite clear that this is sexual, that this is primarily about very beautiful young women who seem almost post-human in their appearances, cosplaying and acting like these non-playable characters. There are men who do this, but it is very, very noticeable that the men who do this are either one of two groups. The first group being individual male TikTokers and streamers and people, men who are popular for something else, and therefore their audience just wants to see them getting on the bandwagon of this trend, or they are just doing it as a joke and people are there to laugh, not at them, but with them more so. There is definitely not a sexual element to the men doing or partaking in this trend, whereas for the woman, it is very obvious that this is the case. Whether it is intended or not is, I think, irrelevant in a lot of this. I think because the most prominent creators are women who are OnlyFans creators and who are definitely exuding this sexuality about them and know it, there is definitely this element of it being a sexual form of content. I decided to ask my Twitter what they thought about the situation by posing them the following question. One of the most famous NPC TikTok streamers, Pinky Doll, makes 7k per day on TikTok and 5k per day on OnlyFans. If you were her, what would you choose and why? Number one, make 12k per day as her, doing exactly what she does. Or two, make under 3k per month, doing a minimum wage job. The responses were interesting. All of this moral grandstanding. If she were to invest this money into space exploration like Musk did with his blood diamond money, it wouldn't matter how she got it. Are you angry about how she makes the money or what she does with it? It's more of an argument on resources, in my opinion. I'd rather be poor and keep my dignity, not that she's lost hers. This shite is manipulative to an audience that cannot look away. Just wait, I'm sure you'll hear all about whales and so on for services like this that provide absolutely nothing besides a moment of acknowledgement. I think I would explode if I did what she did. The money is very tempting, but the degradation to society isn't worth it. And I found that response interesting. I found this idea of it being a degradation to society very important, because I think this really speaks to the fact that a lot of us in modern societies don't see ourselves as having an obligation to a society which doesn't feel as if it has any obligation to us. She has already sacrificed her dignity. At this point, it would be ludicrous to not keep going. The point is not to give into this degeneracy in the first place. I'd rather have my dignity and the opportunity to be respected in my community. We've got to really talk about how it's okay to do basically anything as long as it's legal appeal for content and money? Is this because of capitalism or because of social media? And these ideas about degeneracy, about it being degrading, about this being sort of a representation of doing anything for money or for content or for clicks or for attention, speaks to a lot of people. The idea of society as a kind of higher good, as having a meaning that goes beyond the individual, seems to have really been lost in our modern society and context. There is definitely an argument to be made and definitely a reckoning to be had with this idea that we don't see any value in society beyond being able to monetarily exploit it. And this isn't something that only Pinky Doll and the likes are doing. We are all doing this in some kind of way. In all of this, it is very easy to look at and to blame the content creators, which is what typically happens with things such as OnlyFans and pornography. It is because they are the subject, they are the spectacle, and therefore it is a lot easier, it's a lot more straightforward to point the finger at them, as opposed to what is integral to their notoriety, to their fame, to their exposure, their audience. A prostitute is only as significant as her notebook of clients. And what is really interesting now is that with prostitution, with things such as NPCTok, with OnlyFans content creation, it is clear that forms of sex work are now becoming more so a choice of women, as opposed to something that they are necessarily coerced into. It may not be the greatest of choices, it may not be a choice in the conventional sense of choosing between A and B, but it is more so a choice than it historically was. Sometimes I am reminded of the fact that we live in a world of abject prostitution. For centuries, women who fell through the societal cracks, women who could not generate income and did not have a man beside them, were forced into this heinous lifestyle. One of the few redeeming aspects of modernity is that conditions advanced to a point where this wasn't a mass reality for women. Women were no longer forced into prostitution on a wide scale. And then, in the last 5 years, women with enough money to never have to dream about selling their ass decided, hey, effort, let's all become whores again. I loathe this argument. I loathe it profoundly. And I think this really relates to my point about why I think this NPC TikTok trend is not just about selling sex or selling sexuality. I think it really speaks to a deeper issue that we have contemporarily, insofar as our understanding of intimacy is concerned. NPC TikTok, OnlyFans, pornography has nothing to do with morality or the degeneracy of woman, which is often how it is framed. These arguments are an attempt to sanctimoniously moralize around the idea of men having less control over the sexuality of women than they would like. And I implore you to not fall into this trap of thinking that because you do not engage in such deplorable, degenerate, beastly acts, that you are somehow above the women who do this. Remember, as I said, these women are only as significant as their catalogue of clients. Without the clients, there would be no them, but not vice versa. And that is very important to remember. I don't find this trend as shocking as I find it very sad commentary on the state of intimacy and our relationships with each other. And this is why I say that NPC TikTok is way better than conventional pornography. What I observed in watching countless hours of these streams is that the viewer as a gifter essentially gets the best of both worlds during one of these NPC live streams. By viewer as gifter, I mean the predominantly male audience who watch these NPC live streams and give virtual gifts in order to prompt the catchphrases and the responses and the repetitions from these NPC content creators. What I mean when I say that the viewer as gifter gets the best of both worlds is that he is able to make his fantasy almost indistinguishable from reality, and importantly, vice versa. I say that reality and fantasy are almost indistinguishable, importantly, because I did notice that when the NPC content creator breaks character, that illusion, that very, very convincing illusion, is lost. If an NPC TikToker breaks character for an unreasonable amount of time, she will lose countless viewers, and it is very interesting to see. People do like to see NPC content creators break character and then almost instantaneously go back into character. Pinky Doll is quite good at this.
2, 1, 0. I put you to bed. What are you doing here? Go back to bed. Okay, then I'm coming with you. Okay, guys, I gotta go. Gotta put my son to bed, cause he wake up. See you in a minute. Arrête! Pourquoi tu ris comme ça? Hee-ha! Yes! You got me feeling like a cowgirl. Let me write it. Pat, amazing. JS, stop it. I said stop. You stop now. You leave the dog alone. It's not a game. You're gonna hurt the dog for real. Stop! No. Go to your room. Go to your room. Now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you, baby. This is so cool. That was good. Coconut, cake. Yes, do you think, huh? Whoop, fire. Grab.
What they are not so fond of is seeing a content creator take what I would deem an unreasonable break from character. This was the case in a live stream that I watched by content creator Ashton Lee. Her live stream, self-deprecatingly titled NPC Cringe, had about 1.6k people watching at the time. Now, I watched Ashton Lee streaming as an NPC for an entire hour before she took a break, which lasted no more than 10 minutes. And in that time, she went from 1.6k viewers to a measly 523.
Thanks for all the likes. Tap. Thanks to the rose, so stinky. Thanks to the roses, so stinky. Thanks to the roses, so stinky. Thanks for all the likes. Tap. Thanks to the rose, so stinky. Don't forget to share. I don't do this for nothing. Tap. Tap. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to share. I don't do this for nothing. Tap. I love glizzies. Tap. Tap. Thanks for all the likes. Thanks for all the likes. Don't forget to share. I don't do this for nothing. It's hot pink. It's really pink. Tap. Tap. Thanks for all the likes. Thanks for all the follows. Don't forget to share. I don't do this for nothing. It smells like onions in here. Tap. Don't forget to shower. Don't forget to wipe. Who wants to battle? I'm not doing it. Yes, can we battle? Yes, Lucia. Where are you at?
This surprised me because she wasn't just taking a break of just sitting there doing nothing, drinking water. She was engaging with the audience. She was answering questions. She was inviting people to have an NPC battle with her. It wasn't in the least dry content. It was still content. She was still proactive. But it was clear that the audience did not want to see Ashton as autonomous human female. They wanted to see her as a lifeless, as erotic NPC entertainment. And I think in this, IntimacyTok offers viewers an experience that pornography can only dream of. There is no need for the suspension of disbelief or an acknowledgement of a fourth wall purposefully being shattered or kept intact. Instead, the self-objectifying, yet simultaneously lifeless NPC creator invites, either directly or indirectly, objectification from her audience as a necessary component of being a consumable thing, whilst also successfully dispelling any divide between the fantasy, between reality and the passage of time. What I find very telling is that all this NPC content is live streaming. Everything is happening in real time. The NPC content creator is responding and reacting to you. Yes, you. She is reacting to you in the here and now, and therefore your fantasy is of reality. It is of the present. It is of the moment. You aren't watching a video. You are not a third party. You are not just a member of the audience. It is something that is very popular right now in general, generic media. Think Fleabag, think shows in which the fourth wall is purposely broken, and why it has proved so successful with audiences today. A Twitter user called Intelligent F actually summarized it far better than I could. Typical pornography is a simulation of something real, where the screen acts as a portal to a real person in a real place. The TikToker, however, is more real than this, because instead of faking the real, she is really fake. She is no longer behind the screen, but is entirely merged with it. The screen is an object in your hand, and so the NPC becomes an object in your hand also. The ultimate objectification and the ultimate intimacy. For in becoming your screen, she is now actually in your hands. Now, as I said, these content creators are predominantly women, predominantly attractive women who have most likely been sexualized for the entirety of their young lives. And this is why tweets such as this one annoy me so profoundly, because it does not factor in the nuance and complexity of women's experience of being sexualized throughout their lives from a very, very young age. The introduction of social media into our lives has resulted in platforms such as Instagram, which were intended as merely being there for you to essentially blog photos of your life very happy-go-lucky and merrily, into essentially dating apps and essentially places in which women are sexualized all the time. I will have a picture in a jumper with a jumper all the way up to my neck, and still somebody will send me a DM asking me to do something for them. And that's me. Imagine what beautiful girls get, right? Objectification theory applies very much so to the experiences of young women on social media. This theory shows that because attractive women are typically treated better by virtue of their looks in society, a lot of attractive women, or a lot of women who use femininity and being feminine to be attractive, purposefully self-objectify themselves as a means to reclaim some kind of control over their sexuality. It creates another best of both worlds situation for young women, in which women can, on the one hand, self-objectify themselves in order to reclaim control over their sexuality because they're already being sexualized, whilst, as a consequence of self-objectifying themselves, retaining that femininity and those feminine traits that make them so attractive to men, that make them appear passive, not so threatening. Thus, self-objectification happens when women accept being reduced to physical aspects of themselves and behave accordingly. Traditional gender role stereotypes typically characterize women as weak, nurturing, passive, and less agentic. This traditional stereotypical view on women as being passive may be reflected in self-objectifying behavior and endorsement of self-objectification. And this is something that I see on TikTok right now, not just in NPCTok, which is going viral at the moment, but in another trend that I am quite certain, I would hazard and bet all the non-money that I have in my account, that this is going to start trending. I actually just stumbled across this Twitter account, and it really inspired me to make this video because of the little similarities that I could see in this content and NPCTok and where it is heading toward.
Shh, they're coming. Oh, my back. No, I want you to stay. Yeah, stay. I don't care. I love natural products so much. I recommend this one to everyone. Shh, no one can hear us. It's okay. Shh, it's better if you don't move. It's gonna be quick, okay? Goodbye.
Content creator FESX has over 1.1 million followers on TikTok. And for some reason, well, actually, I know why, her content has not been flagged. She has not been banned, nothing like that, because she is incredibly clever with her content while simultaneously shattering that fourth wall for her audience. Effie is the perfect example of my description of women self-objectifying or self-sexualizing in order to reclaim control over their sexuality while simultaneously presenting themselves as being the epitome of the fantastical femininity, a sexual being for a man's pleasure and will. Why would Effie do this? Why would NPC TikTokers do this? Well, I think it has a lot to do with money, firstly, but also the power and control, the seeming control that comes with it, which is evident and which can be found in women's sexuality, which is why it is so feared and so dangerous and oh my goodness, the end of the world. This is an oxymoron, but Effie's content has very overt and explicit undertones of sexualization and sex. But what is most important is that it has a very explicit undertone of intimacy. And that is why I think NPC TikTok is so popular and also is so much better than pornography. Pornography is just about essentially sex. It's essentially just about getting off. NPC TikTok and content such as FESXs are not about just sex. They are purposefully about trying to, I think, successfully, regrettably, imitating genuine intimacy. With explicit adult content, you are watching typically a man and a woman or a woman and a woman doing things to each other, and you are just the voyeur, the individual watching and observing. You are not partaking. You can partake in your fantasy and in your mind, but ultimately it is quite clear that this is purely a consumable product and thing. NPC TikTok and content such as Effie's are very, very different. They have that explicit content element to them, but in being able to control them as you can with NPC TikTokers, or in the case of Effie's content, being able to imagine that she is talking to you, that she is doing these things to you based on her position, based on the fact that your screen is you, that you are directly accessing her and her sexuality. There is this connotation, this integral connotation of a genuine intimacy between you and the person, between you and the fantasy, which makes it real and no longer fantasy, and vice versa.
Hi guys, I know I don't talk a lot on TikTok Live and PC, so I don't talk. But first of all, I wanted to say thank you for all the love, the support you send me, and the comments you let under my video. It's so appreciated. It makes me feel actually better about myself. Like when I read the message and it's good, I actually feel something inside my chest, like it's love. Like, I don't care what my head is gonna say. I truly love you guys. It's love. It's all love. And twice, I wanted to say that I have now a PayPal me, so you can now send me money on PayPal. So link in my bio on my Instagram because TikTok doesn't allow me to put this in my TikTok. And I want to say thank you for the people who already sent me like PayPal money. Thank you so much, guys. I love you so much. You know, life is going really crazy now. Everything is expensive, crazy outside, you know. It's really not easy when you're a single mother and everything. You know, you really help me like pay my bills, take care of me, take care of my family, you know. It's really appreciated, guys. Like, I love you. I don't know what else to say. I love you. I truly love you. Well, thank you, baby. Thank you. I want to kiss you, but I can't. I wish I can meet you guys one day.
And as I said, I think that this is all a very particular response to a very particular issue and dilemma of our modern age, which is our lack of intimacy. A lack of intimacy that I think has its roots in the fact that we have completely disregarded the importance of genuine intimacy and trust in interpersonal relationships, and have instead placed consent culture at the core and center, and as being the only thing, the only prerequisite, the only important foundation for intimacy. Since the personal became political, and thus since sex became political and a public spectacle, interpersonal trust is no longer deemed the ultimate sole prerequisite for creating and sustaining intimacy. Interpersonal trust has instead been pushed to the sidelines in favor of promoting, and in vain, trying to universalize codes of conduct and moral norms. Interpersonal trust has instead been pushed to the sidelines, and what has tried miserably to replace it are universal codes of conduct and moral norms around consent, pleasure, and power play. On social media, we can see the great, and I mean great, divide and polarization between young men and women. But these young men and women are still predominantly having sex and intimacy and interactions with each other, whether it be sexual or whether it be on dating apps. So there's something keeping young men and women together, even though our issues and concerns are incredibly polarized. And I would say that the reason why this polarization hasn't as of yet resulted in complete and utter bloodshed is because of the convenient counterbalance that is offered by consent culture. Basically, men and women don't have to go into an intimate encounter or relationship with trust being at the core and root of their intimacy, of their interaction, of the potential of a long-term connection between them. The important thing now is consent. If there is enthusiastic or verbal consent, anything goes. And on the flip side, sadly, if there isn't that enthusiastic or verbal consent, then the beauty of the spontaneity of intimacy, the vulnerability of two individuals fumbling together and figuring things out, the joys of flirting with individuals are deemed predatory or inappropriate or outright wrong. I saw this recently in an example of a Reddit post in which a young 23-year-old male asked Reddit whether it was inappropriate that he woke up to his girlfriend giving him a spontaneous "My girlfriend woke me up with a BJ and I kinda like it." My girlfriend and I have been together for 3 years and we moved in together about a year ago. We lost our virginities to each other and overall our intimate life has been great. Yesterday I felt something weird when I woke up and I could feel her under the covers giving me a BJ. A large part of me felt very uncomfortable in the moment because she's never done that without my consent. So I told her to stop and I left for work right after without talking to her. She's apologized countless times since then, saying that she just wanted some intimacy with me because it's been lacking lately. So I understood it. But I don't know how to approach her saying that I think I kind of liked it. I think I was uncomfortable in the moment because it had never happened before, but I think I would enjoy it again. But I still don't appreciate how she overstepped her boundaries without telling me. How should I approach the situation? And this is what I mean by the idea now that the spontaneity and the vulnerability of being intimate with your partner, a partner who, for instance, this young fellow has been with for 3 years, that is deemed predatory, that is deemed wrong, that it makes people uncomfortable when you know somebody, you know their bodies, you know how they work, you want to be intimate with them, you want to essentially be one with them. And that is being undermined by this relentless infusion of therapy language, this infusion of consent culture where it needn't be present. Consent culture is very much applicable to the likes of hookup culture, but when it is involved in our intimate relationships to such an extent where somebody who you have been with for 3 years, who you know inside out, feels that you crossed a boundary when they enjoyed something sexual that you did, I think there is something rather sad and tragic about that. And this is an example for me of how intimacy nowadays is increasingly being founded on negotiations of control and power dynamics. Trust and the love and vulnerability inherent to trust is nowhere to be found as the essential component to interpersonal relationships. This conflation of sex with intimacy and this idea that genuine intimacy is going to be found in this idea of control is essential, or is essentially about control, is very heartbreaking. And I can see this online, especially with men who are very invested in this idea of their sexuality and in getting sex, that there is this emphasis on trying to convince each other that women actually want it rough, women actually have very explicit fantasies about being assaulted, and that it is totally fine to do these things to women in bed, because if she says yes, if she consents, then that is absolutely fine. Intimacy is achieved, fellows. And not only do NPC live streams allow viewers control over a lifeless, camgirl-esque NPC content creator, such self-sexualization and the normalizing of this idea that intimacy is and can be a commodity conforms perfectly to our zeitgeist conflation of intimacy with control. Now, just to end off on a bit of a more positive note, there is, of course, a far more, I would say, artistic form of this NPC content creation. Polish duo and professional dancers Nikki and Lozek, known on their social media as Loszniki, have been making mesmerizing, although quite eerie content for several years. They have amassed millions of followers across social media platforms, and they sell a course, a very reasonable course, it's only like $9, on how to be an NPC. Although there are hardly any sexual undertones to their content, for instance, Nikki and Lozek are very clear and very open about being a romantic couple and being professional dancers. The tips which they offer on how to be an NPC have something rather eerily in common with the NPC TikTok trend today. Look into space without emotion and don't focus your eyes on anything are all crucial steps in becoming an NPC character, according to Loszniki. The lifeless and vacant stares of Nikki have truly captivated audiences across the globe, more so than her male partners. And you can see this in videos such as when Nikki goes on a date with, well, someone, with you. Content in which Nikki features and in which Lozek is merely a back character, in which his hands are essentially your hands, do a lot better than content in which he features as a fully embodied NPC and person alongside Nikki. I think what Loszniki get right is that they are not pretending. They are not playing into this idea that this NPC content or NPC content creation is here for you as a form of genuine intimacy that is so very sorely lacking in our society today. Pinky Doll most definitely plays into this idea that she loves and wants you, that she is doing this for you, that you have control over her for you, and that she is happily complying. And of course, this is not her responsibility. This isn't the responsibility of content creators like Pinky Doll to deal with the regrettable loneliness and the issues that a lot of their audience members are trying to rectify via this kind of content. And of course, many are just watching this for a laugh or as entertainment. However, the popularity of it is, as I said, very telling of something a bit amiss or something quite sad about the state of gendered relationships today, the state of intimacy and how in flux our understanding of intimacy is. However, I would love to hear your thoughts about this entire situation, about this trend, about women and self-sexualization, about, well, the kind of content that I think is going to pop off as represented by FESX, as well as your thoughts on consent culture, on intimacy and trust in relationships, and whether you agree with me or disagree with me. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe. Please do like this video and engage in the comments as I just asked. It really helps the channel and it helps me to grow. I am trying to reach 150k subscribers by the end of the year, and I would very much appreciate it if you could help me along the way. Thank you, as always, to my very generous patrons, and I will see all of you very soon in the next one. Ooh, a rose for me? Thank you. Ooh, a rose for me? Thank you. Gang gang. Gang gang. Ice cream so good. I can't do this. Imagine doing that for hours. I've done this for about 5 seconds and I'm distraught.